Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on City Cable 15 in Southfield, Birmingham area municipal access on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in the Birmingham Bloomfield area, and on the media network of Waterford on Channel 10 in the beautiful city of Waterford. We're also on the radio, of course, 89.3 Lakes FM. We're also on 88.1 WBFH The Biff, and you can visit their website at WBFH.FM to learn more about all their regular daily programming, including their football broadcasts on Friday night for Bloomfield Hills Blackhawks football, at least their home games, as well as their regular programming from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock with student broadcasters each and every week of the school year. We're also online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or view us in the small player that's on the top right of the homepage in the right margin on your computer web browser, on your web browser, on your mobile phone. If you scroll to the left side of the screen over there, you'll have all the options for all of our individual web pages. One of those will be Watch Live, and that's where you can watch us live 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, as well as our regular programming throughout the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're also online on My Michigan TV or MyMy. Visit mymytv.com to learn more. That is mymytv.com, where you can subscribe for free, get access to Michigan programming from Michigan content creators, and find that also on not only your web browser where you can watch live, but also on your smartphone on the Apple iOS store, as well as on the Android App Store and on your smart TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, all of the above. And you can find more information on all of those devices and all those providers that have My Michigan TV's Smart TV app and mobile phone app as well on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast by clicking on the My Michigan TV link or going to mymytv.com. That is mymytv.com. And of course, as I said, learn about all of our partnering TV, radio, and other media outlets at our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, or click on our Megacast link on our homepage. That'll give you information about our show. It'll give you information about all of our partnering stations, as well as links to our full episodes and our full interviews on demand. Because I know, hey, it's Friday. It's a beautiful Friday here in southeastern Michigan. It's going to be a nice Friday all throughout the Great Lakes states. Some of you may be taking 3-day weekends and be out and about ready to travel. Some of you may be trying to get on the horse early and get done with your work week early and start your weekend a little bit earlier, and don't have time for the full 2 hours today. That's okay. You can watch us later on. Watch us tonight. Enjoy the Megacast over the weekend. Binge watch us. Whatever floats your boat, by going to our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can watch the full 2-hour episodes and binge watch the entire 10 hours of our regular programming throughout the week on your time over the weekend. Or if you are limited in your time availability or limited in your areas of interest from what we talk about, we have our individual interviews up there as well, so you can pick and choose what segments you would like to view. And then next door, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus is where we have information from reputable sources that you can trust with information for COVID-19 and other important COVID-related topics such as vaccines, mask mandates, the efficacy of certain precautions that are being taken against COVID-19. You can find all of those at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus and our top headlines each and every day. And we got a pretty jammed-packed day of headlines, really interesting articles from great local journalists. We definitely encourage you also to subscribe to some of these newspapers, or all of these if you can, as your subscriptions do support local journalism that is truthful, that is on the front lines of all of these issues, holding truth to power, investigating what needs to be investigated, and giving voice to the voiceless. Our local journalists in newspaper and local TV are really the last guard of journalism here in our local area, as the 24-hour news cycle continues to corrupt, in my opinion, the efficacy of news, and it's why people question it. So we can get into that debate any day. That could be a 2-hour show in and of itself. We're not going to do that. We're going to give you the headlines from actual journalists doing actual work that actually benefits our community. And today, our top headline from the Detroit News: COVID cases jump among Michigan kids with school in session. COVID-19 infection rates among K-12 students are climbing as their schools reopen for the new year, raising concerns about what could lie ahead in a state where cases and hospitalizations have been trending upward for weeks. New infections among individuals 10 to 19 are now increasing at a faster rate than any other age group, according to data this week from the Health and Human Services Department. The numbers show a 38% jump in new infections among individuals 10 to 19 and a 10% jump in those 0 to 9 years old over the past 7 days. No other age group had a 7-day increase in cases of more than 5%, according to that data. However, the number of pediatric hospitalizations tied to COVID remains low, 19 with confirmed virus cases on Wednesday, and the state reported only 16 deaths linked to the virus among 10 to 19-year-olds for the entirety of the pandemic, compared with 20,600 deaths overall. While the vast majority of children who got COVID will have only mild symptoms, a small percentage will face severe illness, said West Bloomfield Dr. Matthew Hornick, who is also the president of the Michigan chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Dr. Hornick said, with the number of kids with the virus going up, you're going to see the number with moderate and severe symptoms go up as well. The threat to kids is greater at the beginning of the school year than it was last year because of the highly contagious Delta variant. The fact that many more students are in person and people become less cautious about the virus, have become less cautious about the virus, also is contributing to that, says Dr. Hornick, a pediatrician here in West Bloomfield. During the last month, a portion of Michigan's overall new cases that were children 0 to 9 years old was 8%, double the 4% of that data share for the entirety of the pandemic as of August 13th, according to a Detroit News analysis. Children younger than 12 are currently not eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, and those above 12 and those 16 and older are able to get the vaccine. So 12 and older are able to get the vaccine from Pfizer/BioNTech only. Continuing on in this article, this leads to other debates such as the mask in schools debate. The rising infections among young people in Michigan can boost pressure on public health officials to impose new mask requirements for schools across the state, a tense subject that is dividing parents and politicians and school districts alike. Currently, 43% of the school districts in the state have a mandate in place for K-12 students, according to the health department. In a letter sent Tuesday to Pamela Pugh, the vice president of the State Board of Education, Department of Health and Human Services Director Elizabeth Hertel said that 60% of Michigan's 1.4 million students are covered by mask mandates implemented by their school district or local health department. So far, Hertel has declined to issue a statewide mandate through an epidemic order that would require all students in Michigan to wear masks. In her letter to Pugh on Tuesday, she continued to defend that stance. Quote, districts and local public health leaders should work together to implement mask mandates. When they collaborate, we can create buy-in at the community level, leading to better outcomes and better adherence to policies that keep people safe, Hertel wrote. MDHHS recommends every district adopt a mask mandate so that they can keep their students, staff, and parents safe while allowing students to continue to learn and grow in the classroom, and closed quote. Pugh is a former public health official in Saginaw County and responded by saying, quote, please know that I understand that these are difficult decisions to make in the political climate that we live in. However, I'm truly having a hard time settling with the thought that our children, parents, and teachers must experience illness instead of public health stepping up to do what we are called to do. Exercise the art of prevention to protect the health of the people and the community. Masks are considered a simple tool in the fight against COVID-19. And on Wednesday, an organization called Michigan Parents Alliance for Safe Schools launched a petition asking for a statewide mandate. One of the group's members, Emily Melitz of Macomb County, said as of Thursday, about 4,000 people had signed the petition. The trend of new cases among students is concerning, she said, and said it's preventable. That's preventable with a very simple tool that we could all do tomorrow. a mask. And that full article, much more extensive than what I've provided today in this summary from the Detroit News, is posted on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And continuing issues next on the docket with the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. That is a mess. This article from the Detroit Free Press. Michigan's first ever Citizen Redistricting Commission is finding itself on a steep learning curve as members race against the clock to draw new maps ahead of the 2022 election, crunching a months-long process into a matter of weeks following an unprecedented delay in census data. Also, they've just been dragging their feet, been a little lackadaisical, have had attendance issues. There are more mounting issues than is led on by that opening paragraph. As expected, the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission blew past the Friday deadline that the Michigan Constitution set for proposing new districts. But with 4 weeks of mapping under its belt, public commenters and commissioners who have never drawn districts before have raised concerns that the group might not get the job done in the time it's allotted for itself. The commission has already fallen behind its own extended timeline, and the commission agreed Thursday to add more mapping time to its schedule to stay on track. Concerns that the process is inefficient have been a constant theme since the first group began mapping. Just hours after kicking off its first mapping session last month, members jettisoned their original idea of reviewing individual maps submitted by the public, finding the process to be tedious. The commission has since opted to consider the input while drawing the lines. Since then, the commission has been trying to streamline its entire process, but Metro Detroit voters in recent meetings remain concerned that the process could be marked by inequity if the group doesn't give itself more time to draw districts in the most densely populated and diverse part of the state. Meanwhile, it has proven challenging to examine the maps already drawn by the commission, which has provided an easy way to view and comment on them. Let's go through a little bit of these details. The mapping process, since census data arrived in mid-August, the commission has made major changes to its mapping process. It ditched its initial plan of individual communities of interest, places united by shared public policy concerns that wish to stay together in new district lines. The commission instead spent the last few weeks drawing districts based on equal population while weighing public input as it goes along. In terms of Metro Detroit voters, they are seeking more time for the commission to draw those lines, as we mentioned earlier, with concerns for equity and proper map drawing in some of the most densely populated and diverse parts of the state, such as southeastern Michigan and the city of Detroit, which is becoming more diverse as time goes on. And the census data showed that it became much more diverse over the past 10 years. And representation is extremely important when you're redistricting the congressional districts for the state and the federal government, as that representation can play a key role in the leadership that is representing you at the state level and the federal level, and ultimately is a reflection of the community and should be a reflection of the community and its voting public. Voters from Metro Detroit have consistently told the commission that the density and diversity of the region will consume more time and attention from the commission than the rest of the state. Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties are home to about 40% of Michigan's population. The three counties are home to about 70% of the state's black population, as well as a large Arab, Hispanic, East and South Asian community. There are LGBTQ and immigrant communities, as well as neighborhoods that share environmental concerns that the commission has been urged to consider in how lines are drawn. There's also been backlash from Republicans. Of course, this is an independent citizens redistricting commission. It features Republicans, it features Democrats, and it features independents as well, those who are registered in all three categories, to prevent a situation where there is gerrymandering on a commission that was voted in by the general public into the Michigan Constitution to prevent gerrymandering by currently the Republican-led Congress would be in charge of redistricting and presumably would be gerrymandering in favor of those leaning to the right politically, whereas in the past, if we had a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate at the state level, it would be the opposite way around. That's not pointing fingers one way or the other. That's just how both of these parties have done it. Is it right? No. Do they always do what's right? They're politicians. Come on. So anyway, on the Republican backlash, in this article. Pitched partisan battles over the maps are expected, but some have already seized upon allegations that independent commissioners Anthony Eade and Satella are actually Democrats to question the validity of the process. Ooh, the undercover Democrats claim. That's a fun one. Spooky season's upon us, and that's a spooky allegation. Michigan GOP chairperson Ron Weiser has called for their resignation, claiming they falsified their applications. Ooh, that's a big accusation. Republican distrust has been a constant challenge facing the commission, and the allegations seem to have compounded the problem. Bipartisanship is baked into the mapping process. Commissioners collaboratively draw lines, and no plans can become final without the support of at least 2 Democratic, 2 Republican, I will mute my phone, and 2 independent commissioners are what's needed in order to confirm any of those congressional lines. Again, bipartisanship, a huge part of this process. That's the entire purpose of why the voting public said no more gerrymandering. Let's have this be an egalitarian process. And of course, there's going to be growing pains, but not quite like this. There's also tensions with the constitutional criteria. In drawing these maps, the commission is required to focus on communities of interest, the state's diversity, and partisan fairness, a departure from past redistricting criteria that prioritize keeping counties, cities, and townships intact in compact districts. But the group has been told over and over again to keep counties together. The result is that Democratic and Republican voters will be treated fairly, says Ruth Greenwood, the director of the Election Law Clinic at Harvard Law School, who said this during a recent event held by voters, not politicians. There is a way for you to provide your input to the commission, whether it be about the redistricting of the maps, whether it be about drawing lines in your local area, or just complaints about their process, which has been wholly inefficient, and of course has had some extenuating circumstances related to delays in collection and distribution of U.S. Census data from 2020. The commission reviews written public comment and drafts submitted via their website at Michigan-mapping.org. Again, that is Michigan-mapping.org. You can also sign up to give in person or remote public comment. Instructions are provided in meeting notices available at michigan.gov/MICRC. Michigan.gov/MICRC, or which is the initials for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. One last article today. I encourage you to go to our website and read the article about some concerns about flu season approaching here in Michigan, and concerns about a potential twin-demic between the flu and COVID-19 as variants continue to pop up. People are being a little more relaxed with their precautions, which of course those precautions helped to prevent the spread of flu during last season, and dramatically reduce the spread of flu and the overall effect of the 2020 flu season. That's the hope again this year, but concerns are in place. So that's one of our last articles. But there's another one that I think is pretty interesting. Very odd story as well from the Detroit Free Press, as Michigan students steal from bathrooms for a TikTok challenge, and schools have had enough, as they should. It's weird. TikTok trends are wide-ranging and ever-changing, but generally harmless. Good soup, quote-unquote, never hurt anyone. Others are not as harmless. The quote-unquote devious licks challenge, taken over TikTok, is running rampant through Michigan schools, encouraging students to steal and angering administrators. Students in middle and high schools across the nation are stealing everything from soap dispensers to bathroom stall doors to shelves of COVID-19 tests to entire toilets, and documenting the entire thing on TikTok. While the logistics of stealing a toilet and sneaking it out of a school unseen remains a mystery to most of us, schools seem to have had enough. Videos circulating show school administrators threatening disciplinary action over the loudspeakers during school hours, and others have sent letters home to families. At Swartz Creek Middle School, Principal Michelle Corbett released a statement on Facebook addressing the theft at her school, because you know what they say. Young people in middle and high school, Gen Zers, they love Facebook, right? Anyway, that's not the concern here. The concern is this challenge and the theft from schools. Not to mention, it's all like bathroom materials, which is pretty disgusting. Anyway, I digress. Principal Corbett from Swartz Creek Middle School said, quote, "We have experienced vandalism in our boys' bathroom that very closely follows this terrible challenge. Soap dispensers have been removed from walls. Soap has been spread on walls, and urinals and sinks are being damaged. We are actively investigating these incidents, and any students involved will be facing disciplinary action. Grand Blanc High School Principal Michael Frey sent out a similar message to families saying he was, quote, disappointed to have to send a note home, but they had 8 soap dispensers removed from walls, toilets intentionally clogged, and various other acts of malicious destruction. Schools aren't the only ones taking action. TikTok itself has put out a statement condemning the trend, deleting videos, and removing the hashtag devious licks, as well as similar ones that just change a letter, including devious lick without the final K in the word lick. We expect our community to stay safe and create responsibly, and we do not allow content that promotes or enables criminal activities, said TikTok in a statement to USA Today. Users are commenting that their schools hired security guards and placed new cameras outside of the bathrooms. Kids are creative, though, and where there's a will, there's a way. Apparently, where there's a toilet, there's also an opportunity for some viral content. Not just on TikTok, but probably in general. It's a toilet. It's disgusting. It's a bathroom. Leave it alone. I mean, kids are already disgusting as it is. But that's a whole nother debate for a whole nother day. Kids are just gross. They don't learn hygiene naturally. They're gross little critters. We were all there. But come on. There are so many better ways to pull pranks and be silly in school than to steal from a bathroom. Get a grip. Anyway, parents, this is important for you. Talk to your kids about why stealing from a bathroom, of all places, stealing in general is bad, but from a bathroom is bad on multiple levels. And read that entire article from the Detroit Free Press at our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And while you're at it, yes, kids, I know. You're going to respond to me with, okay, boomer. Joke's on you. I am a millennial. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we got a great show ahead of you. Today at 10:20, we'll be speaking with Craig Bryson, the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County, about ongoing road projects and those coming up. At the bottom of the hour, Tamara Treanore will join us. She's the Founding Director and Special Instructor of Orthotist and Prothetist Studies at Oakland University. Easier for you to say than I. At 11 o'clock, Michael Greiner will join us from Oakland University as well. And then 11:20, it's Suitember. We'll be joined by David Elkus from Todd's Menswear and Wholesale Clothiers at 11:20. And 11:40, Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent's Botanicals will join us. That coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, along with our studio producer, Alvin Brown, also our board operator. As we broadcast live 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, about topics affecting Oakland County and the entire state of Michigan. And it's always construction season here in the state of Michigan on our roads and in our residential areas. There's always something going on. Usually it's on the roads. We got orange barrels out there all the time, and we have a lot of people asking questions. Hey, what's this? What's that? Why is this road closed? Why is it one way? Why are there construction workers out there all year long? And then, others, including probably Jerry Seinfeld, asking, what's the deal with I-75? We got a guy that has all those answers. It's Craig Bryson, Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County, back with us once again on the Megacast. Craig, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Tyler. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So summer construction season is coming to a close. A lot of those projects still ongoing, but many of them are wrapping up. Give us a little bit of an update since we last spoke about the progress on many of those projects that were either begun in the summer or were wrapping up as the summer came to a close.
Absolutely. We are seeing some of them coming close to the end. Some of them are still right in the middle of it, but we're making progress. One of the big ones, especially in the West Bloomfield area, is the Maple Road project from Inkster to Franklin. That's a major resurfacing project. Believe it or not, we hope to be done with that by Wednesday next week. We finished the paving yesterday. That was a big milestone. We've got to do a little bit more work, bringing some of the shoulders up to match the new level of the pavement. Then we got to put the new striping down, and God willing, we hope to have it open by Wednesday next week.
People out east of us here may be wondering what's going on with Adams Road between Long Lake and Square Lake. It was still closed yesterday, so what's the status over there? When can people expect for Adams Road at Long Lake and Square Lake to be reopened?
Yeah, that's a major construction project as well. That's going through November. And that's they're ongoing. They're making progress, but it's a major project. They're extending some turn lanes, doing some other improvements while they're there. So it's simply ongoing. There is local traffic allowed in there. It is closed to through traffic, though. You're right.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He's a Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County, joining us as well. So Orchard Lake resurfacing project in Kego, that's been a big subject here in the greater West Bloomfield area and our Civic Center TV coverage area, and it's a major project that is coming up in the future for Oakland County. Has there been anything finalized as to what that resurfacing project will look like and that reconstruction project will look like, or is there a timeline that is set on when that may be finalized and may begin in the future?
There is not yet. That's a great question. This is an interesting challenge. This is taking the section from Middle Belt, what is that, back to Commerce, I believe, and doing potentially sort of a road diet there, changing it from a 4-lane configuration to, we've looked at a variety of options. We got input from the community. We're leaning towards a 3-lane option with a continuous center left turn lane, but the decision has not yet been made. But we are moving forward. We hope to actually do that project next year, but we got to get to that point where we can determine what the configuration is first. The 4-lane configuration that's there is not ideal. It has not been ideal. We don't like to have a road without a center left turn lane, so the cars have to stop in a through lane to turn left. And whenever we see that, we see a lot of rear end collisions, and we've got some high numbers on that for that section of Orchard Lake. So part of the goal is to resolve that rear end collision problem there.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission for Oakland County, with us on the Megacast. And Craig, still on the topic of the Orchard Lake Road reconstruction in the Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake area. The public input portion of that survey that was up earlier on, that period has passed, but people are still going to be very curious about this. They're still going to probably want to have some of their input put into this as more decisions are being made, or one scenario versus the next that was preferable to the community and is preferable to the commission itself are being discussed. Is there opportunities for people to continue to provide their input, or at least keep up with this project as it gets closer to being finalized and put into place and the construction begins?
Yeah, great questions. First of all, absolutely. We will have additional points where people can share information and where we will share information with people. We don't yet have anything specific set, but those are certainly coming. It's possible we may have another public information meeting, or we may do an informational flyer or something like that. That hasn't been determined yet. In the meantime, we welcome public comments. Anyone can always call or email us. The main number at the Road Commission is 877-858-4804. And if you have a thought on that or a question, please feel free to give us a buzz. You can contact us through the website. There's a contact us section of the website. Please feel free to go there and send us questions or comments, or shoot an email to dcs@rcoc.org. That'll go to our Department of Customer Services, DCS, and we'll get you information. But that is moving forward. We don't have a definitive answer on it yet, though.
We're joined by Craig Bryson, Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County, with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And Craig, you're recently on WXYZ TV, or as normal people would call it, Channel 7, earlier this week to talk about job openings at the Road Commission for Oakland County. And there, as mentioned, there were 20 job openings there. Tell us about the schedule for those job openings, how long those will be open, what kind of jobs are available, and how people that are looking for some work and want to work for an organization like the Road Commission, and how they can get those jobs.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Those jobs will be open until we get them filled. Sorry about that. And we don't know when that is. We're like many people, we're having trouble getting people coming in to apply for our jobs. We're really excited about these jobs. These are great jobs. These are our frontline laborer jobs. Of the people that drive the snow plows in the winter, that the people that patch the potholes, do all those types of activities. It's a great career. It has great benefits, great wages, and it's a revolving thing. As we fill jobs, there's attrition, people retire or leave. We have filled those jobs, so we have openings in those types of positions on a pretty consistent basis, especially now with the economy the way it is and the job market the way it is.
There's not just job openings, there's also bid openings for contractors that we'll work with, that would, in this case, work with the Road Commission for Oakland County on many of these projects. It says on the website itself that there are scheduled bid openings. Can you describe the bidding process for some of these companies that may not have worked with the Road Commission before but would like to work on some of these projects and have those opportunities? What's the process like? How do these companies go about bidding for various projects, one versus the other?
Right, great question. So there's two different types of projects we bid. One is ones where there's federal funding involved and the state actually bids those jobs for us, and then there's jobs where there's no federal funding, it's all local funding, and we bid those ourselves. But any contractor has to be pre-qualified. They have to meet a number of requirements about the size, value of the company, the type of work they do. You have, of course, meet all the federal fair hiring requirements, that kind of thing. Once they do that, they have to pick up a copy of the spec book for the project or download it for the specific project and submit a bid. The bid has to be comprehensive, has to address everything we require in the spec book. And then it's just a matter of we're required to go with the lowest qualified bidder. And we welcome competition. The more competition, the better for us and for the taxpayer dollars that are involved. So we invite anyone who's interested to check out our website and look at the jobs that are available, and please submit bids.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He's the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County. And I have to ask, and we ask this every time you're on, but what's the deal with I-75? I was on there last week. We were heading up to the West Bloomfield football game in Oxford, so I was briefly on I-75, and I say that happily because briefly is about as much as people are going to want to be on I-75 when there's construction out there, but there seems to always be that. What's going on there? When can we expect things to start to maybe dim down a little bit in terms of traffic on that highway?
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of answers for you on I-75. That is not our road. That's under the jurisdiction of the Michigan Department of Transportation. We do perform some of the maintenance on there, specifically the routine maintenance, but also they ask us sometimes to do a little bit of the heavier maintenance. So sometimes you will see our crews on there, but generally speaking, we don't do the scheduling for those. We don't identify the needed work. We just respond when MDOT asks us to. And as you well know, the big project in the south half of the county that's the south quarter of the county, I guess, that's ongoing, is a multi-year project and is at least a couple more years before we see the end of that work. I think perpetual work on I-75 is the state of affairs for the foreseeable future.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission of Oakland County. So if you're frustrated with the I-75 situation, again, that is not, as Craig just said, the Road Commission for Oakland County. They provide some support, but that is through the Michigan Department of Transportation, or MDOT. Go to michigan.gov/MDOT and go to the contact page if you'd like to ask questions or make submissions to the complaint department. And, let's leave our friends at the Road Commission alone. They got other things to deal with. They can answer your other questions, and they love to do it, but not I-75. We're joined by Craig Bryson, and Craig, our producer here, the king of television, Larry Nyland, would like to know, because we're approaching the fall, and with fall shortly after comes the winter season, the cold season, the ice and snow season. How far ahead are the Road Commission for Oakland County and other road commissions in the local area generally preparing for that season, getting salt trucks ready, getting salt collected, and being prepared to make plans in the event of inclement weather and icy conditions?
No, winter is never far from our minds, unfortunately. But for the most part, right now, we're still focused on routine summer, fall road maintenance activities. We have signed a new contract for our salt deliveries for the winter, so we got a little bit of a discount in the price compared to last year, so that's always a good thing. And there's always some aspect of winter that we're considering. But as far as the trucks continue to be used for their summer and fall purposes. As we get a little bit closer to winter, we'll start doing the refresher training with all of our drivers, going over what is required of them in the winter, what they can expect. Most of them have been through this before. We've got a lot of veteran drivers. It's I don't want to say it's old hat, but it's something they've done enough times that they're familiar with it for the most part. A lot of the stuff, while it's difficult while we're in the throes of it, it's stuff we've done frequently. We have processes in place for almost everything. So it's just a matter of making sure those processes are still up to date. The maps are up to date. The driver routes for the salt routes are up to date, all that kind of stuff. And that stuff is going on constantly year round behind the scenes.
We're joined by Craig Bryson. He is the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County. Craig, just another minute or so with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there anything else that would be important for our audience to know at this time from the Road Commission for Oakland County, or any interesting information or potential projects coming up that you'd like to touch on today?
Well, we did just approve our budget for next year. That means we've got about $62 million worth of work coming next year. We've really, sometimes this doesn't seem evident, maybe sometimes it does, but we've done a tremendous amount of work in the last 4 or 5 years, almost 500 miles of roads with new surfaces on them in the last 4.5, 5 years. And we're going to continue at that pace for the next couple of years as long as the funding holds out. So hopefully people are seeing some new pavement, even though it's frustrating when the pavement is going down. Driving on that new pavement is a lot nicer than the old pavement. And we're going to keep that up at least through 2025. And that's when our financial forecasts predict that our funding is going to start to decline again. And we'll be back fighting for more funding at that point.
Well, Craig, we appreciate your time, appreciate your insight as well, and answering our many questions about the summer construction season, the fall construction season, the winter icy road conditions season, and more. And we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tyler. Love the Megacast. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. Find more information from the Road Commission for Oakland County at their website, rcoc.org. More information on their ongoing projects, future projects, as well as for those of you looking for jobs and looking for contracts for your company going forward with the Road Commission for Oakland County, as both are available and both are actively being sought right now by the Road Commission. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll go from our roads to Oakland University. We'll be joined by their founding director and special instructor of Orthotist and Prothetist Studies at Oakland University after the break. That coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township as we continue to provide information on COVID-19 and other interesting and important topics, not only in Oakland County, but all across the state of Michigan on a number of different television, radio, and web outlets, including on social media and Facebook. On our Facebook pages, Civic Center TV 15 and Lakes FM. Go ahead and give them a like. Keep updated with what we're doing here on the Megacast and all of our programming at Civic Center TV, and find out more about what our partnering stations are doing as well, as they continue to provide great community content, news and information, and of course access to public information and public meetings all across the Oakland County area and across the state of Michigan. Learn more about each and every one of those, including our new partners out in Southfield and in Waterford at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. We're pleased to be joined now by Tamara Treanore. She is the founding director and special instructor of Orthotist and Prothetist Assistant Studies at Oakland University. And I am just happy that I landed on 2 feet saying that, as I've messed that up almost every single time. So I'm glad to bring her in and ask the first question, Tamara. What goes into being an orthotist and a prosthetist assistant? What do they do? What is this all about?
All right. Well, thank you for having me on the show. This is a great opportunity. An orthotist prosthetist assistant is an individual who assists a clinician, and a clinician is an orthotist or a prosthetist themselves. I'm an orthotist. And an orthotist is somebody who makes braces. So everybody says to me, oh yeah, I have orthotics for my feet. However, an orthosis or a brace can pretty much encompass any segment of the body. It could be for a foot and ankle, such as we have right here. It could be for an upper extremity, hand, spine, scoliosis braces are very common examples of that. It could be pretty much any body segment. Prosthetics are obviously something that's going to replace a limb, so a prosthetic is something that replaces an actual missing limb. People are more familiar with a prosthetic than they are with an orthosis. An assistant is somebody similar to the role of the physical therapy assistant, similar to the role of the physician's assistant. It's somebody who assists in providing additional services, expanding the capabilities of the primary contact person by expanding hands-on care. So the orthotist prosthetist assistant, the OPA, is an individual who's being trained to provide those additional skills and really just permit more patients to be seen in a timely fashion. Currently in the country, we have a shortage of the staff for orthotist and prosthetist positions that are available. And this is the accrediting board and pretty much the field effort to expand services by offering additional ancillary skills, ancillary caregivers.
We're joined by Tamara Treanore. She is the founding director and special instructor of Orthotist and Prothetist Assistant Studies at Oakland University. And you mentioned the shortage that there is nationwide for assistants in these 2 categories. What are the kind of skills, like the natural skills or learned skills that are sought after by doctors in this industry, by medical companies and outlets in this industry for people to be an orthotist or prosthetist assistant right now to cover those shortages?
Yeah, the entire field is a very niche field. People do not know about when prosthesis or an orthesis. You wouldn't think of needing one unless you had a medical-driven deficit, unless something had happened to you. So individuals who have strokes and they develop weakness, they develop what's called a classic drop foot. People who develop, who have amputations, such as trauma such as that, those are individuals who end up needing these devices. And the device itself, or the interventions that are required, are a combination of some real significant skills. The first thing that has to be done is the physician assesses and sends a patient over to our clinics or offices, such as it could be a freestanding clinic, such as Wright & Philippus, Hanger, Benson's, Prostech, Mary Freebed. Any of these companies have clinicians on staff, the orthotist or the prosthetist. Rehab Institute, every hospital has an affiliation. The patient who comes in is then assessed by the clinician or in conjunction with the assistant. And the individual is assessed for the deficits, their physical needs, what their issues are, what their challenges are, all driven by the prescription. We have a guideline from the physician, and the patient is then assessed and evaluated: walking, movement, muscle strength, range of motion in the various joints, sensation, additional diagnoses that are affecting what's going on. So it's a very thorough, very in-depth diagnosis. So part of the assistant skills are history taking, manual muscle testing, range of motion, evaluation, working one-on-one with patients. Again, they're working under the direction of the orthotist or the prosthetist, but it's also part of their skill sets. Clinical assessments of the patients. After an assessment's done, then we have to be able to move forward into providing what's needed driven by the prescription and by the assessment. And we may end up doing measurements, we may end up doing a scan, and we may end up taking an impression. An impression is something where the patient is wrapped up in layers of fiberglass or plaster of Paris, and this model of their leg, which I happen to have one right here. The model of this patient's leg, done in fiberglass and casting materials, is then taken, and we use a series of, we fill it with plaster of Paris. There's a vacuum forming technique. So there's another aspect of the skills required by an orthotist, prosthetist assistant. They would be doing impressions. So measuring and scanning skills, casting patients and casting patients and the manipulation of the patient to create that outcome you want in this model of the patient's leg. The next part of the skill sets that the assistants will need is understanding materials, because these devices are made up of a combination of materials, whether they're plastics or foams, the types of joints, the pneumatics, the actual structural elements of the prosthetic limb. So there's also exposure and understanding of materials. Is it a foam? Is it a metal? Is it what type of plastics are needed? So there's an understanding. It's basically a very material basis with an understanding of the physics of materials and understanding of the characteristics of materials. After those materials are created by a technician into the brace that we need, again, the final outcome will be something like this. But then the assistant will also be working directly with the patient in terms of modifications, adjustments, corrections, follow-up education. And that's another very unique part of the field, because the clinician and the assistant both need hand skills. In my lab behind me, I don't know if you can see it well, but we have jigs, and the jigs are designed to provide alignment for the prosthesis. We have band saws, we have drill presses, we have grinders, we have drawers. I'm sitting at a workbench right here, and I have drawers full of tools. And the tools, everything from hand tools to handheld drills, grinders, Dremels. It's a very hands-on, very creative field. And that's one of the best parts of this. With the skill sets, again, then, hand skills, ability to learn how to use tools, but also be able to use them. The other part is patient education, contact. You're working one-on-one with a patient. You're working directly with individuals. You could be working with a 2-month-old baby. You could be working with an 87-year-old geriatric patient. You could be working with a patient who's got multiple limb loss, or you could be working with somebody who has a simple instability in one joint. So that's another skill. Communication, ability to talk and listen and educate patients in terms of what they need. This field is a combination of engineering and physical therapy, psychology, physics, it's everything. All sorts of skill sets are brought into play. It's a very niche field, but the people who come into the field have a diverse set of skills, which I don't think you'll ever find in any other field out there.
Yeah, that's kind of what has caught my eye with this. We're joined by Tamara Treanore. She is the founding director and special instructor of the Orthotist and Prothetist Studies at Oakland University. And from my notes, this is the first Bachelor of Science program, or BS program, to be created in the field and working with accredited and nationally recognized accreditation. And so, what went into the decision and to your discussions with the university and ultimately the decision to make this a Bachelor of Science program? Because like you said, it is such a niche field to go into, but on the other side, as you also said, there are so many different skill sets and there's so much intricacy that also goes in to being an orthotist prosthetist assistant. So the field itself was, I should say, this program came about as almost an extension from the old orthotic prosthetic technician program up at Baker Flint. And I taught there for quite a few years. That program closed. And in the process, there was a transition where Kevin Ball was working with the president of Baker, and the materials, the equipment were moved to Oakland University with a vision of creating not only the assistant program, but at some point we'd like to attempt to advance into the master's program for the actual clinical program. That's a long-term goal. We're working on the building blocks of this program at this point. The purpose of embedding it in the health science program in terms of the human health building is because in this building alone, we have physical therapy, we have the biomedical engineer, we have the biomedical applications and understanding, we have exercise science. We have a very strong basis of similar skill sets. And we have a very strong group of individuals who are focused and understanding of the unique niche of this field. Physical therapists are an individual, an adjunct group that I work with in terms of assessing and seeing patients. A physical therapist may reach out to a clinician and say, I have a patient who presents with these particular symptoms and I need to have them evaluated. So I'll be at the clinic, the patient will be coming to my clinic, and they'll be evaluated, and I'll work with a physical therapist in terms of determining long-term goals, immediate goals, and interventions that we may need to address. So this is a great environment because we have so many of the parallel caregiver and involved parties for where this particular field works. We're joined by Tamara Treanore. She is the founding director and special instructor of the Orthotist Prothetist Assistant Studies program at Oakland University. It's currently pursuing national accreditation with the OPA specialization through the Commission on Accreditation of Allied Health Education Programs and the National Commission on Orthotic and Prosthetic Education, or NCOPE. A site visit is planned for 2021. So while you're pursuing that accreditation, it's expected to have a site visit this year and may be completed soon after that. As you're seeking that accreditation, how are you also working to attract students? Because it's expected that you will more than likely get that accreditation with all the facilities, with all the work and the expertise that's involved in this Bachelor of Science program, but it's still not quite there yet, and this program is still very much in its infancy. So how's it coming along getting students into this program, and what's the interest level been like? Well, I have literally been on site at OU just for a few weeks, but I've been working with OU in terms of developing this program for approximately 1.5 to 2 years. There's a great amount of support internally from OU. We have different departments who are providing us support. We have internally, we have our marketing, we have our reach outs. Again, we're focusing right now on just bringing students in and providing them an exposure in terms of what the field is. It's again, as I mentioned, it's a niche field, and trying to broadcast this very, very unique field. At this point, we're expanding. We're learning the different areas where we're going to bring students in. We're learning the different people who have the skill sets and the interests. I've had people come through and look at the lab and go, oh, no. I don't want to be working in an environment where I have to use tools and where there's more of the hands-on. They'd like there's a different view of what they want out of their job. So we're seeking all sorts of avenues. We're working with social media platforms, we're working internally, we're working with the incoming students in the exercise science student body and providing them exposures, because again, these students already recognize, I want to be in the healthcare industry. I want to be in healthcare. I may not want to be a physician, I may not want to be a nurse.
I want to do the hands-on portion. So we're providing exposure to these students, bringing them in for tours, offering them understanding of what the skills are, offering them opportunities to come in and see the lab. I've talked to many students and brought several in already who are interested. The person who works in this field or who's found this field to be most attractive is, again, individuals who have that ability to not only learn and are comfortable with all the different approaches. They're not just in a singular path in terms of how they're involved with patients, but they also recognize the creativity and the design applications and are very interested in expanding the skills that they have and are very comfortable with. It could be somebody who's already a woodworker, somebody who already has family members who've had orthotic or prosthetic interventions and thought it was a cool area, fascinating, but they didn't know how to get into it. It could be somebody who has a family member who has some type of a disability and recognize that it was pretty interesting to them to go into the appointments. And so they're the people we're reaching out to. We're exploring every option at this point because, again, we're the first program in the country that is seeking to establish an accredited program. Accreditation is pretty rigorous. We have multiple standards of education to meet, multiple expectations of students' proficiency, multiple areas that are identified and training the students in. So it's a rigorous program. It's also one that, again, in the infancy stage, we're getting a ton of support from the national level, from our clinical partners, from the supporting industry. We're getting great support. Again, they recognize that any type of build is a challenge. However, we have all the elements. We have the lab, we have the support, we have an environment, we have the educational support. It's a great, in fact, I felt I was extremely lucky when I was able to come to OU and work just because all the elements are present to make a great program.
We're joined by Tamara Treanore. She is the director and instructor of the Orthotist and Prothetist Assistant Studies, and also the founding director of the program at Oakland University. And Tamara, just another minute with you before we'll say goodbye today. So for those that may be interested in this very niche but very intricate and growing opportunity that's there for them at Oakland University, where can they find more information, inquire about the program, and maybe even sign up to be one of the initial students to get a Bachelor of Science in these studies?
You can definitely reach out to Oakland University, the Health Science Department, Exercise Science. So contacting Oakland University and asking to speak with the Health Science, the Exercise Science program. The academic advisor, academic co-chair is Dr. Dan Goble, G-O-B-L-E. And his email is dgoble@oakland.edu. dgoble@oakland.edu. We also, you can also absolutely reach out to me. Mine is a little bit more complex. It's TTREANORE at oakland.edu. TTREANORE at oakland.edu. However, again, contacting or reaching out to Oakland University, the Health Sciences, Exercise Science program, we definitely have individuals who will be more than happy to speak with anyone whatsoever. And I'm absolutely delighted to give anybody tours, talk to them directly, spend time with them, explaining the field to them. This is an area I've been involved in for 30 years. I love my field. I love it, having the opportunity. How many people say at the end of the day, yep, I helped somebody walk? So it's a great field, it's a great area. Please reach out if you have any interest or know anybody who might be interested. It's a great opportunity.
Well, Tamara, we appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us know about this really interesting program and revolutionary program, really, that's here in our local area at Oakland University, the first of its kind to have a first of its kind as a Bachelor of Science program. Thank you very much.
Thank you now.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll go into the second hour of the Megacast here on your radio homes for the show. 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, as well as 88.1 WBFH, the BIFA service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. On the other side of the break, we will stay over at Oakland University. However, we'll hop to another side of the campus. We'll speak with Assistant Professor of Management at the School of Business Administration, Michael Greiner. That is coming up next on the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues on and there's continued changes in unemployment benefits and status of unemployed individuals in Michigan and across the U.S., that's certainly going to have a big impact on our business community. And joining us now to talk about the many impacts of those situations is Michael Greiner. He's a professor of management in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University. Michael, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So let's talk first about the unemployment benefits, because we've heard so much debate over the past several months about a staffing shortage, so to speak, as one part of the narrative. And the other is that people don't want to go back to jobs where they're getting paid less than a living wage, where they're having to work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet, and the ends still don't meet. And now, with the unemployment benefits going away, on one side of the spectrum, you would think some of those incentives to go back into the workplace would be coming back into play. And on the other side, you're seeing a situation where people's hands are being forced and they're going to have to explore the job market, which, mind you, has plenty of openings available, but may not be the most preferable for their situation, especially now that they're losing that added padding from unemployment. How do you think, just on a blanket scale, the absence of these unemployment benefits is going to impact both these businesses and individual employees that may be exploring going back into the workplace?
Well, I think the businesses, it's going to have relatively little impact, is the truth of the matter. And the reason we know that is that we have a situation where certain states had eliminated the extended benefits earlier. So we could kind of see what happened there and compare them to what happened in the states that did not eliminate the expanded benefits, like Michigan. And as it turns out, the states that did eliminate the benefits had really no faster growth than we did in the other states. And in fact, many of them had actually slower growth than we did in the states that kept the unemployment benefits. So it doesn't appear like there's going to be any kind of huge impacts. And really, the idea that the reason people aren't working is because of these unemployment benefits, I think, is really overstated. And the evidence really seems to suggest that. Now, in terms of individuals, I think the bigger concern is the fact that a lot of people have been counting on this income to pay their bills. As you point out, a lot of people have been struggling over the past few years, certainly since the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. We've seen very slow income growth among most families, and that has really hurt people. You know, people feel like they're not making progress and feel like things are getting more expensive, and they're right, because they aren't making progress the way they had in the past. And I think that this cut in benefits is going to hurt some people, and the bigger issue, I think, is it's going to hurt our the ability of families to spend money, which then also has an impact on the economy, a negative impact. And I think that's part of why you've seen a negative impact on the economy in some of these states that cut the unemployment benefits earlier.
We're joined by Michael Greiner, professor of management in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University. And so, Michael, there's been some reports that there's 10 million jobs for about 8 million unemployed, and yet they're still really slow to fill, even though we are slightly into the period after these unemployment benefits had gone away. Why are these jobs continuing to seemingly be so tough for these employers to fill, even despite there being a rash of jobs open, more than there are unemployed individuals?
Well, people are not what we call fungible in economics, which means you can't exchange one for the other. So having a job available doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to suit everybody who's out there looking for a job. There's this process of matching up the correct person with the correct job. And that's really where I think things are lacking right now in the economy. It's kind of like the whole issue that we're dealing with the supply chains. Right now they're having trouble getting semiconductors to manufactured and getting them to where they need to be. And there's this issue with there being too many of the containers in one place, not being in the place where they're supposed to be. The problem is we shut down this massive economy that was running at full tilt for a long time, as if it just on a dime. And as a result of that, it's hard to restart these things. People in many cases spent 2 years off, and during that time they may have started a business, they may have gone back and tried to get more education, their lives may have changed, they may have moved, they may have decided to change careers. There are lots of things that could have happened that made it suddenly where they're not just willing to drop back into that same job that they left 2 years ago. And the other issue too, I think, and this is really something that I was just reading about this morning, is that once again, with the rise of the Delta variant in COVID, we're seeing again where a lot of these businesses are starting to shut down, especially some of the businesses associated with office space, some of the business travel. The airlines are talking about cutting again, and so people really are not as comfortable simply relying on an employer to provide for them as they had been in the past. In many cases, they're saying, I need to rely on myself rather than waiting for this employer to take care of me.
We're joined by Michael Greiner, professor of management in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University, with us today on the Megacast. And the Delta variant also taking a toll on the economy, and certainly taking a toll on some unemployed individuals that may have been exploring getting back into the workplace. What, from your indications and your expertise, seems to be the overarching impact of the Delta variant and the current COVID-19 surge, so to speak, on a national level, and here in Michigan in particular, on getting workers back into the workplace?
Well, I think that the big issue, and really the biggest thing that government can do right now to get people working again, is to deal with the pandemic. We saw a very direct relationship between the vaccination starting and really making progress there with the economy starting to get back on track. And it's actually amazing the last couple months prior to this one, where we were adding about 1 million jobs a month. So that's really very impressive. And it shows that the economy was bouncing back very quickly. Now, we had it slow again this month, and it's believed that that's largely as a result of the rise of the Delta variant. So I think that, again, we're seeing where offices are again saying that they're not going to have businesses returning to them as they had been in the past, and that has kind of a waterfall effect, where if businesses aren't returning to the workers to the offices, then those workers then aren't going and using the restaurants that are located downtown. They aren't necessarily using the parking structures. They aren't necessarily driving, using as much gasoline. And so there's this effect that then goes throughout the entire economy, just from the fact that people aren't being called back to the office. And I was just reading yesterday about how business travel, where they had really hoped that would be bouncing back, that it appears to be stalling again. So really the priority number one of the president and the policymakers needs to be getting this Delta variant under control. And that's where I think really the biggest story from an economic standpoint right now is the fact that the president is really pushing to increase the vaccine mandates in businesses. And I think that will, if there's anything that will have a long-term impact on the economy and getting people back to work, that is it.
We're joined by Professor Michael Greiner. He's a professor of professor of management in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University, with us on the Megacast today. And Professor, as we continue forward with this, and we continue to have this debate on the unemployment issue, on trying to get workers back into the workplace, and what may lead one thing to another and how the impact of the unemployment situation may impact the economy going forward. What do you believe, from your expertise, from your analysis on this issue and a number of different COVID-related issues as it pertains to our business community, what do you think will turn the tide that does get people back into the workplace and kicks this economy back into high gear? Certainly solving the issues of the pandemic, but are there any other factors at play that you believe would really turn the tide and start to get people going back into the workplace?
Well, I think that certainly dealing with the pandemic really is the central issue. But I guess if I had to look at another factor, the thing that I think is going to be really interesting to watch are businesses themselves pushing forward the mandates within their workforce. I think that businesses are really ultimately going to be the drivers in terms of getting people vaccinated. The reason is it's just good for business. Look at the example of the cruise companies, where they're involved in a fight right now with the governor of Florida. And the reason is because they say they want to mandate people on the cruises are vaccinated, and the governor of Florida doesn't want to allow them to require that. Well, the reason they want to require that is people who've been vaccinated don't want to go on a cruise with people who haven't been vaccinated. They're worried about getting the variant. So they want to be in a safe place where people are protected. So I think what you're going to see is more and more companies, if they're not requiring their people to get vaccinated, they're going to be doing things like we saw Delta Airlines, where they're going to be increasing the costs on people who are not vaccinated. And that really, I think, is ultimately going to be the thing that kind of pushes us over the finish line. It's not going to be a government mandate. This issue has become too much politicized at this point, but ultimately it's going to be business who are saying this is bad for business. We need to get people vaccinated. And that's really what's ultimately going to get us through this crisis, I think.
We're joined by Michael Greiner. He's a professor of management in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University, joining us today talking about the job situation in the state of Michigan and federally, about the economy as it pertains to COVID-19. And as we're looking at all these issues and as we're considering the many factors that are at play with each of these individual issues and then how they connect together, the big underlying thought is, where does the economy go from here? Because this pandemic doesn't seem to have the light at the end of the tunnel that we necessarily saw a few months ago, when cases were at a lower rate, when they were not increasing in the majority of the states in the union. And now we have a completely different situation. So as we're going forward with the Delta variant, with other variants that will continue to pop up as we struggle to get more people in the U.S. and here in the state of Michigan vaccinated, what do you see on the forecast for the economy going forward? Are we going to continue to see kind of this slow resurgence that we've seen more recently, or it's kind of that boom that we saw a few months ago? Or could we be running toward a situation where we should be expecting things to be a little bit more turbulent and going back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the short-term forecast is definitely for unpredictable weather right now, and the reason is because we don't know what's going to be happening with these variants, and we don't know if there could be a new variant that emerges. That's the scary thing about this. Is as COVID has been bouncing around, there are new mutations that can evolve, and you never know how that's going to impact things. But I think that what you're seeing in many cases, really, and this is a credit, I think, to the American people, is the resilience of the American economy and the American workforce, where they're saying, I'm going to kind of take control of this situation and take control of my life and try to find some innovative ways to deal with this. One thing that we've seen a big jump up over the past couple of years has actually been new business startups, where there was a big concern since really, again, the Great Recession, that the dynamism, what we call the dynamism in our economy, where the amount of new business startups had actually slowed. And that's a big concern, because that's really where the innovation and the energy in our economy comes from. But what we're seeing now is that has restarted, and we have really seen historic levels of new business startups. And I think that that level of entrepreneurship is really what ultimately is going to help people get through this. And I think kind of the American people, as we always do, going back and relying on ourselves and relying on our communities, I think we'll get through this.
We're joined by Professor Michael Greiner, Professor of Management at the School of Business Administration at Oakland University. Professor, just another minute with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there anything else that would be important or interesting for our audience to know about the economic forecast, about the jobs situation going forward, or things that we should be paying attention to in the coming weeks and months?
Well, if there are two things I think that I would be paying attention to, number one would be what Congress does. Because while I said that there isn't much government can do, there is one thing government can do, and that's spend money, because they can essentially insert money into the economy. And so the question is, if they pass this infrastructure bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is supposed to cost about $1 trillion over the next 10 years or so, and then there's also talk about another large bill that would be passed through the reconciliation process of about another $3.5 trillion. If those bills pass, then you'll see a lot of money coming into the economy that would be creating new jobs. So that, I think, could be potentially very exciting and could have a big impact in the long run. The other question will be what the Fed does, because, of course, the Fed is the other big arm that can have a big impact on the economy. And if they start to really tighten up the monetary supply out of fears of inflation, which personally I think are a little bit overstated, but nevertheless, I mean, there are concerns about it. If they start to do that, then that could really choke off a recovery before we're able to make progress in it. So I think really the right now the smart money is to watch what Congress does and what the Fed does over the next couple of months, because in the long run, those could be the biggest things that impact our long-term economic viability.
Well, Professor, we appreciate your time and your analysis of the current state of our economy or the current state of our job market, both for employers and for those that are unemployed or looking to go back into the job market here soon. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the the Upper Peninsula in Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. Yes, I'm still Tyler Keefe. I know it's I know what you're thinking. You're coming back being like, well, wait a minute. Who are you? What have you done with Tyler Keefe? Because you weren't wearing that before the break. How did that happen? Well, A, it's the magic of television, but B, it's also Suitember here all throughout the local area and all around the world. And to talk more about Suitember, as well as dressing well, getting in the right suit and the right dress attire for the season, for all those special occasions, is David Elkus, the owner of Barron's Wholesale Clothiers and Todd's Menswear, with us on the Megacast. David, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. So let's start off by telling us a little bit about Suitember. What is this all about? Why Suitember? What's going on with all this?
Sure. So Suitember is our celebration of men's suits. It's a recognition that suits help people look better, perform better, act better, and live better. And it's also a charity fundraiser for the Friendship Circle, as well as a trade-in sale for St. John's Church in Royal Oak.
We're joined by David Elkus. He is the owner of Barron's Wholesale Clothiers and Todd's Menswear with us today on the show, talking about suits. So what goes into a quality modern men's suit? What should people out there looking for a new suit for a wedding, for another special occasion, for the office? What should they be looking for? And are there differences between one occasion that you're wearing a suit versus another, and what you should be looking for?
Sure. So ideally, you're looking for a suit that's going to mirror your own personality. So if you're a classic guy, you're looking for an interview suit, something that's going to be used for business purposes. You're going to want a suit that's going to show you off in your best light and fairly classic. If you're looking to have a wedding suit, something going out for the evenings, you're looking to have an elegant pattern, a darker suit, a richer pattern, tone on tones, and so forth. And if you're looking for a night out on the town, for something for fun, you're going to want something that's going to really show off your personality, a little bit brighter, a little bit louder, and a little bit more fun to wear.
We're joined by David Elkus. He is the owner of Barron's Wholesale Clothiers and Todd's Menswear with us today on the Megacast. So matching the suit to your personality and to the occasion, very important. In my case, I'm violating that rule. The last time I really wore a suit that matched my personality was we did a fundraiser back in high school before I think it was our homecoming dance for people that in other communities and in our communities that may not have been able to get a suit themselves for homecoming or a dress for homecoming. And so we partnered with a local company as well, or a local franchise of a company as well, to model some suits for people to rent, and some of those proceeds would go to. And I wore, of course, the suit I chose to wear around for the day was a lime green suit that was very poppy and had way too much personality, way too much energy. So there's no evidence of that out there right now, which is good. And if you find it, please post it, because we'd love to. I love a little bit of light embarrassment. So, in terms of Suitember, some of the proceeds from Suitember do go toward charities in our local community. What charity is being supported this year through your company, through your companies, and through Suitember in this season?
Absolutely. So Barron's is supporting the Friendship Circle in West Bloomfield. Friendship Circle is a wonderful organization that helps children with special needs. They provide different services, teach children how to operate within the world, teach them how to use money, teach them how to interact with other people properly, as well as providing different therapies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, etc. And it's a charity we've supported now for 3 years worth of Suitembers since we started this program. And it's a pleasure to work with them. They really do a wonderful job. So 10% of proceeds at Barron's goes back to the Friendship Circle. I just mentioned Friendship Circle, and we will know what to do with it. Todd's Menswear is a different type of a business. It's open to the world. It's not a wholesale business. And at Todd's, we're running a trade-in sale. The old suits are going to be traded in and given to St. John's Church in Royal Oak for their purposes. They'll turn around and give that to people in need. And customers will receive a discount against their new suit.
We're joined by David Elkus. He is the owner of Barron's Wholesale, Clothiers, and Todd's Menswear. Joining us today to talk about Suitember. Learn more on their Suitember website at www.suitember.com, which includes a history of suits and the top reasons to wear one. So let's talk on those two topics. First, let's discuss some of the reasons why you would encourage people to wear a suit, because we're seeing more in modern days that the suit is kind of going in under the back burner. It's more for very special occasions as opposed to being something you wear daily in the workplace for men, and in some cases, in the case of pantsuits for women, it's something that you're seeing kind of go away in some workplaces versus the other. It's something that even at gatherings and rites of passage events like weddings, it's becoming something that's less encouraged than before. So what are some of the benefits that you would say are reasons why people should still be wearing suits?
Absolutely. So you're right that suits are not as popular as they were perhaps 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's probably the number one reason why you should consider wearing one. It'll help you stand out from the rest of the crowd. But we see over and over when research is done that people wearing a suit perform better. They are better negotiators, more creative. Wall Street Journal had an article back on that just a couple of years ago. They had a follow-up article just last year talking about how much better a negotiator someone is when they're dressed properly. That it puts somebody into a better frame of mind to work differently than if they're in their workout gear. That is, the clothing messages what you're going to be doing. And if you're in casual clothes, you're going to be messaging yourself to think casually. Whereas if you're dressed up and looking professional, you're messaging to yourself that it's time to get serious and to do the real work. I just had a customer in the other day talking about that very thing. He said that although he's working from home and although he's doing lots of Zoom meetings, he finds that when he dresses up in a suit for that meeting, he's far more efficient and far more effective for his client. It was a real solid point in terms of why it is, in fact, important to dress properly for the task at hand. Secondly, with respect to weddings, we're actually at Todd's seeing people coming in, thankfully, in droves looking for wedding suits that they want to memorialize their event and show off a nice, clean look and to look good for a special lifetime event. So all in all, suits are not going anywhere at the moment. It's a lot of talk, but the reality is that people recognize that when someone's dressed properly in a suit, that they look the role, that it's something special, and it's still an important part of our wardrobe.
We're joined by David Elkus. He's the owner of Barron's Wholesale Clothiers and Todd's Menswear with us on the Megacast today, talking about Suitember and more information on that sale, as well as the awareness spreading and fundraising through his businesses with Suitember. It's at Suitember.com. And also there's a lot of great history about the suit as well. And David, being a resident suit expert here in the local area, can you give us a little bit of a summary of the history of the suit? Because it's not something that we traditionally are wearing in everyday life in the modern era, except for, of course, in those different scenarios like work or special occasions. But it's also something that wasn't exactly part of what you think of historical attire either.
So the modern suit started in the mid-1800s with in England by Beau Brummel, a sharp dresser who had the ear of the king. And he decided to lighten up the look of top coats and morning coats that was the standard fare at the time. So he had his tailor create what is now considered a business suit. And it quickly took over. In fact, it's been very popular for now about 200 years and shows no signs of really stopping, although your comments earlier were well noted. And over the course of time, of course, fashions change. When there was a great deal of manufacturing here in the U.S., we had a wide variety of different suit fashions, different styles, more buttons, less buttons, longer lengths, shorter lengths, different lapels, different back treatments, and so forth, all done because we had a manufacturing base here and could make short runs of different varieties of types of suits. And yes, even lime green suits, as noted before. But today it's more centralized around single styles, whether it be single-breasted, double-breasted, and so forth. There's a predominant style, which in the moment is the two-button side vent notch lapel style. That will likely change in the next couple of years, perhaps to a double-breasted suit, perhaps to something different. We're starting to see in Europe that suits are getting a little bit longer and a little bit larger. And it'll take time for that to filter over here. At the moment, skinny or slim fit suits are still very much what's in fashion. So, I flipped over a couple hundred years worth of fashion very quickly. I'll give shout outs to my grandfather, who, amongst other things, designed what became called the zoot suit, which was a little bit more of an unusual fashion. With higher waist and voluminous pants and a whole different look. But again, that was to suit a personality, a type of a look, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more fun in clothing.
We're joined by David Elkus. He is the owner of Barron's Wholesale Clothiers and Todd's Menswear with us on the Megacast today. Learn more about his business's efforts in Suitember, where if you buy a new suit with his businesses and mention Suitember, mention the Friendship Circle, some of those proceeds will go toward the Friendship Circle in a charitable donation. You can learn more about Suitember, which has been going on for a few years, through David's companies at Suitember.com or by calling David directly at 248-865-9960. And David, tell us a little more about Barron's Wholesale Clothiers, because that business is the largest wholesaler of suits to traditional men's stores, and it's Michigan's largest wholesaler of suits to traditional men's stores, and provides a lot of really high quality materials as well. Tell us a little bit about the history, because I've seen a few of these. I've seen this location up locally before, and always wondered what it was about.
Sure, thank you for asking. So Barron's on Orchard and 12th Mile Road is supplier to the men's clothing industry. We sell suits to retail shops, to tailor shops, to personal shoppers, and to groups, church groups, other businesses that are looking for everyone to dress a certain way. We hang about 5,000 suits here from about a dozen different manufacturers, Hickey Freeman, Hart Schaffner Marks, which is behind me, Hugo Boss, amongst others. And it's all designed for these stores to be able to resell and make a profit on. Our pitch to those stores is they come in, they make their selections, and if they sell it, everyone's happy. If they don't, they can return it for a full refund, which they can't get anywhere else. So that's how Barron's started about 50 years ago. And our business, Todd's in Royal Oak, started about almost 90 years ago with my grandfather in downtown Detroit. And this is more of a fashion store, a little bit more colorful, brighter clothing, and a little bit more fun. And we're in Royal Oak there on the 11-mile road between Woodward and Main Street with, again, about 4,000 or 5,000 suits to select from.
We're joined by David Elkus, the owner of Barron's and of Todd's Menswear, with us on the Megacast. And David, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye today. Before we let you go, tell us where people can go to go to Barron's and to go to Todd's and to participate, of course, in Suitember by getting a new suit maybe, and then having that be, of course, a charitable contribution to the Friendship Circle, or by trading in their suit at Todd's for a new suit and having their former suit then go to St. John's Church as well.
So thank you. Todd's, again, is located on the 11-mile road between Woodward and Main Street and open 7 days a week. And they're ready for you right now. Barron's is closed to the public. You need a referral from a tailor shop in order to come in, or perhaps someone else. If you are a business and looking to outfit your crew, they'll be delighted to take care of you. It's a little bit more up our alley.
Well, David, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us about Suitember.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day.
You as well. Learn more at Suitember.com or by calling 248-865-9960. Again, that is 248-865-9960, or by visiting Suitember.com. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we will go from suits to botanicals. We'll speak with Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent Botanicals next on the Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. There's about 20 minutes left in this week's episodes of the Megacast before we'll say goodbye for the weekend. I want to remind you, you can watch all of our episodes on demand at civiccentertv.com/Megacast, as well as all of our interviews. If you tune in a little bit late to one, or you're just tuning into the show now and you've missed our 4 previous interviews on today's edition of the show, you can find all that on our website. That will all be uploaded later on today, including our last interview today with Laurie and Sarah Tennent, joining us from Laurie Tennent Botanicals on the Megacast. Laurie, Sarah, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate having you on. So before we get going with the thick of things here, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and then the community that brought you two together to work for the first time.
So I've been a photographer for 35 years and had a studio in Birmingham and done a lot of events and also artwork, and I've had a couple galleries. And this is one of my series that is botanical images, and specifically healing botanicals. I'm a Chinese medical provider, and this is my mother, obviously, and we both love plants, and realized that her artwork and a lot of the information that I was learning about how we can use plants for medicine, we wanted to combine in this.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent, joining us today on the Megacast. They are both with Laurie Tennent Botanicals. And Laurie, out of all the botanical portraits you've taken, you talk about in this project, it's all about botanicals that can be used as a form of treatment in some way. Which one of those botanicals that you've photographed in this particular project has been most intriguing to you as an artist?
Well, every plant has its own personality and its own properties that help you heal. There's a lot of really interesting mushrooms, for instance, turkey tail mushrooms, and Sarah can tell you what the properties of that specific plant are. Turkey tails are the best for breast cancer, actually, and all mushrooms provide an immune effect that helps to either upregulate or downregulate how our immune system responds. So that is definitely a personal favorite for us. Yeah, I'm a survivor of breast cancer, and then when Sarah was in school getting her acupuncture degree and learning about Chinese herbs, we actually used those products or plants during my treatment. And this show is at the University of Michigan Gifts of Art Gallery, and we combined our efforts to make this show.
So Laurie, you photographed a lot of different plants for this upcoming show. Which one was really, and like you said, they all have their own different personalities, and all kind of brings on a different idea for your photography and for piecing your art together and getting that perfect shot. But which plant that you encountered as you're putting this project together was the most unique botanical that you were able to put onto the pictures?
Well, I don't know that any one in particular is more unique. As I mentioned, mushrooms are something that people don't know as much about as they would lavender or like chamomile. Those things are in teas and things that we're familiar with. So there's probably 15 images in this show that has my image and then Sarah's description. What makes these images so unique that my mom does as well is that she really captures the personality of each plant. So we capture the uniqueness of each plant as well. And actually on the turkey tail mushroom shot, there's a tiny slug that ended up in there too. So it shows nature and the actual qualities of the plant, just large and in your face.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent, joining us today from Laurie Tennent Botanicals, with us on the Megacast, talking about a new exhibit, talking about healing plants that focuses on healing plants. And Sarah, it was mentioned that you did the descriptions for each of Laurie's photos that are in this exhibit, about 15 different plants. What went into the choices of these 15 different plants? Was it entirely because of the visuals decided by Laurie? Was it because of some of the benefits of these specific plants and getting that information out there, a combination of both?
The plants that we chose have come from a lot of images we've taken over the years, and some of them were taken actually at my school in our garden, where we had the benefit of having a really beautiful garden to learn from as well. So the plants that we chose are not only common plants that a lot of us know of, like lavender or calendula flowers or rose, lemon, but also some more unique ones like turkey tail, moxa in there as well, which is a mugwort plant that we use a lot in Chinese medicine.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent with us today on the Megacast. And Sarah, you're also the owner of Cedar Rose Botanicals, and so tell us a little bit about how your products there are made and what general purpose is there for some of them, or is it all just and are they just generally for women, or is this a product that's kind of for a wide range of people with different ailments?
Yeah, Cedar Rose Botanicals I created out of the need to really get some tools in people's hands. So there's a variety of products. There are teas and hot cocoa mixes, bath salt mixtures with plants in them, also some essential oil rollers, a massage oil, and things that we can take internally as well. So these are not just for women, they're really for everyone. And we hope to make more boxes in the future too, with more products. So some of the plants that we chose for this show, like calendula and mugwort, are two of the main plants that I infuse into oil that make all of the bases for the massage oil. They have healing properties for the skin, and they also warm and nourish digestion.
So Laurie, what went into the decision to have this exhibit be on this specific topic of healing plants? Because plants are interesting, nature is interesting to photograph, and I know that you have done a lot of nature photography before, but what went into this specific exhibit and why these 15 plants were chosen to be photographed?
Well, the University of Michigan Hospital has a really great program called Gifts of Art, and they show different artists throughout the hospital in many different areas. There's probably hundreds of pieces of artwork on exhibit there every year. So this was an opportunity to show in the lobby, right where everyone comes in, and everyone will be able to see them, and hopefully reading these descriptions and actually standing in front of these pieces, which can be 40 by 60 in size, you'll be able to get that feeling and maybe get some of the essence of that plant if you're there healing or if you're there with somebody who is sick. So I thought it was a perfect venue for us to show this, and hopefully it will travel to other hospitals.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent there from Laurie Tennent Botanicals and Cedar Rose Botanicals today with us on the Megacast. And so Sarah, as you are very much an expert on these plants and their benefits in treating ailments and treating some different hormonal issues and the ways that they impact the body, it brings up the curiosity of how you even got into this specifically. I know that you had mentioned earlier that it was mentioned earlier that you helped your mother through her bout with breast cancer with many of these different products that you've been researching and you've been using in your practice and with your business. But how did you get into this?
Well, I've always grown up in a family that loves plants. So we have a lot of gardeners and we love to cook, and was always surrounded by really the healing property that can come from plants. My background in Chinese medicine actually started when I worked in a hospital in China just after college, and then went on to do my master's in Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture. I love to study plants, and once you start on the plant journey, you don't end. You meet more and more friends, and part of this show was to introduce a lot more people to some of our friends. These plants that sometimes are right outside our front door and otherwise we wouldn't think of, and can be used for so many different things. So I continue to learn each day.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent Botanicals, as well as from Cedar Rose Botanicals with us today on the Megacast. They're Gifts of Art Gallery their pieces at the Gifts of Art Gallery at the University of Michigan Hospital is on main lobby, floor number 1. That is located at 1500 East Medical Center Drive in Ann Arbor, and it's on display now through December 3rd, open daily. 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. And Laurie, Sarah, if people are not able to come into Ann Arbor to visit this exhibit, or they are in the local area, but they're concerned about going into a hospital facility or near a hospital facility, or just going out in the public for something that may not be entirely necessary in their opinion, is there other ways that they can access the photos and the information from this show?
Yes, both of our websites have a link to the show, which also has the descriptions, and Sarah will be adding some more videos as the month goes on, really talking more about the healing properties of these plants. So LaurieTennentBotanicals.com or CedarRoseBotanicals.com. You can also follow our social medias, which are the same, Cedar Rose Botanicals and Laurie Tennent Botanicals.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent. They're joining us from Laurie Tennent Botanicals as well as Cedar Rose Botanicals, as was mentioned on the Megacast. And Sarah, as we're continuing through the pandemic, people are undergoing a lot more stress right now. They're dealing with COVID-19, with the Delta variant. We're heading into flu season. People are going to have even more ailments, and there's seasonal affective disorder with the winter seasons and the late fall and all of that. What are some products you're suggesting right now to help people through the current stresses of the pandemic and the oncoming winter season, which comes with its own psychosomatic and other issues as well?
Right. Preventative measures are always so important, right, as we're going into flu season. And back to our favorite of this topic today is mushrooms, which are great for our immune system and can really help to build up our vitamin D levels. You can even leave them in the sunshine and they'll absorb even more vitamin D as well. So shiitakes, all those kind of things. Also, different essential oils can be great for relaxing the nervous system. So managing our stress really helps our immunity stay strong. Lavender is a great and common one for that. Rose oil on our chest a little bit can help us relax our mind as well.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent Botanicals and Cedar Rose Botanicals, talking about their combined art exhibit at Gifts of Art Gallery at the University of Michigan Hospital main lobby on floor number 1. It's on display now until December 3rd from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Laurie, Sarah, anything else that would be interesting for us to know about this project, or anything else that you're working on right now or in the future?
Sarah?
We were really hoping to be able to have a lot more of an interactive component with smelling and tasting and really getting experience with the plants, which unfortunately COVID, we had to change a lot of that. So we made a lot of things more digital, which is great for accessing it on our website. But we definitely hope in the future to collaborate more so that people can have a full sensory experience of these plants. The images, smell, taste, and all that good stuff.
We're joined by Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent Botanicals and Cedar Rose Botanicals. Laurie, Sarah, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Learn more about each of their work by going to LaurieTennentBotanicals.com or CedarRoseBotanicals.com. And, of course, you can visit their exhibit at the University of Michigan's Gifts of Art Gallery at the University of Michigan Hospital and the lobby on floor number 1. Now through December 3rd from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about where you can get all of our episodes and all of our information that you need to know about COVID-19 over the weekend while we're off the air. Do a little bit of a preview for next week and talk about some other things that we have upcoming here at Civic Center TV. And then we'll wrap up the week. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast each and every day live on our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, as always, we're on Birmingham area municipal access. We're on City Cable 15 in Southfield now, as well as on the media network of Waterford on Channel 10 in the Waterford area. Always on the radio on Lakes FM and on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, online at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Watch Live link, as well as My Michigan TV at MyMyTV or MYMITV.com. My Michigan TV with programming about Michigan for Michiganders 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we also are on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. About 2 minutes left in the program today, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in throughout this week to all of 5 of our new shows. We're going to take a break for the weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Big thank you today to our guests, Craig Bryson from the Road Commission for Oakland County, Tamara Treanore from Oakland University, the founding director and special instructor of the Orthotist Prothetist Studies program that is now kicking off over at Oakland University. Michael Greiner, also from Oakland University, who joined us to talk about the unemployment situation. David Elkus from Barron's, as well as from Todd's Menswear. And then, of course, Laurie and Sarah Tennent from Laurie Tennent Botanicals and Cedar Botanicals, who joined us just before this final break. If you missed any of those 5 interviews or our other 15 throughout the week, if you missed any of those 5 interviews or our other 20 throughout the week, as I realize how math works before we end the show today, you can find all of those on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as information about our partnering stations. Also over at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus all weekend long. We don't post new articles on days we're not live on the show, but we always have access for you to the CDC, to the CDC resources, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department resources, as well as Oakland County's resources about COVID-19, so you can get actual information, factual information from sources that are researching COVID-19 and are on the front lines as well. Stop wading through the internet on all the misinformation, all the disinformation, and get exactly what you need from civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. It makes it so much easier to find reputable information directly from sources who are battling this pandemic. Big thank you to our entire team that goes into making this show get on the air each and every day here at our studio at Master Control, Larry Nyland. Also, our booking producer and our Zoom producer. He is the king of television. A big thank you to him. Also, our studio producer and board operator, Calvin Brown. For all of us here at the Megacast, I'm Tyler Keith, wishing you a good weekend. We will return on Monday at 10 a.m.